all of the cats just came out and they were like, Jellicles can angelicals do, Jellicles can angelicals do. Would you, okay.
And that's a preview for episode 12 of this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to it.
Starring Anxiety.
Let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you, darling.
Hi there. You're listening to CAMP-O-RAMA, the only camp cinema podcast recorded in 100% CAMP-O-RAMA. I'm your hostess, Canada's Drag Race Season 1 and 2 applicant, Lilith Fair. And today we're talking about not Cat Chick, not Cat Broad, but Catwoman from 2004, directed by Pitoff and written by John Rogers, John Brancato, and Michael Ferris. And who else would I want to force this hideous piece of cinema garbage upon than the campy, the gorgeous, the very funny, my upstairs housemate, Karla Marx.
Hi, hello, thanks for having me.
How are you doing this evening?
I was doing better, and then I watched that.
Yeah, and then I said, come downstairs, have I got a movie for you?
Yeah, usually that means good things for me. Usually you've definitely, like, broadened me into, like, a very fun, campy era of, like, 70s, 80s, 90s camp that I haven't normally explored. So, up until this moment, I have trusted you a fair bit. But
that's how you get them.
You got me. Yeah, you got me.
Well, I'm sorry that I've done this to you, and I'm sorry that I'm now forcing you to talk about it at length.
I love a terrible movie.
It really says a lot about your character that you're being so patient.
Well, yeah, I mean, patience is the name of the game here.
Oh my god. It literally is.
Yeah.
Halle Berry plays, not Selena Kyle.
No, that would be good.
As you would suspect, based on Catwoman. She does play a woman named Patience Phillips.
Yeah, it was refreshing how they took a very beloved, iconic anti-hero and just said, we got this. We're going to just shelve all of that.
We don't need any of that.
No,
We've got original ideas.
50, 60 years of iconic character portrayal to build up interwoven plot lines. We're good. We got some low-waist jeans. We're fine.
This room of cis straight white men all said, we're going to tell our story about an empowered woman.
It was very Joss Whedon in that, like, it's an empowered woman because she punches men.
Yeah. Okay, but before we really get into Catwoman, I think it would be a great idea if we allowed our listeners to learn a little bit more about you.
Sure, let's do it.
Great. So, Karla, how long have you been doing drag?
I get this question a lot, actually. I was asked it even today.
A hard life.
It's been about 2.5 years. I've been really lucky to do drag a lot in that time. Mm-hmm. Where I've, especially when I started, I was just, like, getting into face as much as I can to practice. And then, yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yep. So what was it that drew you to the art form in the first place, would you say?
It was my wife. She definitely was like...
Please expand upon that.
Oh, right. So, my darling wife, who some of you may know as Bitch Sassity, she was like...
I know.
You know. She was like, you're so sassy, can you just become a drag queen already? And I was like, fine, I will. And it was early days. I was going through my transition,
right?
And playing with hyper femininity really was attractive to me. And I remember in my early days, like, almost being really emotional when I had to take the drag off because it was so femme and that was so gender affirming for me,
right,
to step into this character. And then as I, like, explored drag and my transness, I had to, like, find a line between, like, I can do all of this makeup, but is that me? And, like, find a line. But, yeah, it was a really great journey to be doing both at the same time.
So where does the name Karla Marx come from?
I am a hardcore communist. I've been protesting in the streets against conservatives since 92.
Literally protesting in the streets?
Yeah, I went to my first rally in 92 against education cuts. And I joined the Young Pioneers of the Communist Party of Canada. And then I joined the Communist Party of Canada. I joined SWAG, Student Workers Action Group. In true Marxist style, I schismed away from that group because of their lack of revolutionary zeal. And said, read your Lenin and quit.
Thank goodness someone said it.
Yeah, it really needed to be said. So when I was picking my drag name, it was a lack of creativity. I was just like, I'll just be Karla Marx. It was just right there.
So what did you do for your first number?
My first number was actually at the Fake Mustache amateur show. Mm-hmm. But I said, excuse me, no. I will not be in the amateur competition. I will go afterwards with all the, like, seasoned vets. And I completely, James doesn't know this, but I completely bluffed my way into it. Because I had one picture of me in drag that my drag mother, Jamie Simons, put me in drag and was like, go get him, kid. And so I took this one picture and I was like, yeah, James, I do drag. And I did the show and I was like, what should I do? And at the beginning I always did like a Russian accent. I did a shtick.
Right.
And so I was like, well, then my first number should be entirely in Russian. And so I chose like an internet sensation song. Like, the song where he's like, ha, 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 ha. If you know it, you know it.
Keep going.
And well, he makes that song,
forever.
and then it's in Russian.
Yeah.
And like I made 8 people in that room really happy. I went with like Eye of the Tiger was my second number. I went a little more mainstream. And then in my second number, I did comedy for the first time, and I made people laugh, and I was like, ooh, I like that. I like that. Yeah, that's how I found where I wanted to be.
So in addition then to like all of the inspiration that your own interests bring to your drag, who are some people that you perhaps look to?
The list is many. Good question. Thank you.
You're so welcome.
Yeah, these are great questions.
Yeah, and thank you to me also for giving out so much great content for free on the internet.
Yeah. Just really lowering the bar for pay content. Obviously, bitch sassity.
Yeah.
It took me a while to realize how rooted I was in burlesque. I started, before I got into drag, I was hosting burlesque shows in a male character, Hans von Hammer, the Führer of Fun. And I did this, like, German accent the whole time, which people quite enjoyed.
Yeah.
One day I might have to bring that out. But yeah, no, there's a lot of wonderful burlesque artists, like Bellissima, Randy Lee, Ivy LaFleur, Axis DeVille. There were so many great burlesque artists that really shaped how I perform and approach building numbers and costuming. If you've noticed how many pounds of rhinestones I wear in almost every act, I'm like, yeah, very rooted in burlesque. And then I had like some drag race idols, I think we all have some that were like, oh, they were cool. Like,
yeah, like Magnolia Crawford, Penetration, Elisa Summers.
Who?
The greats.
No, for me it was like Alaska and Bianca Del Rio and Bob. I liked a queen that could look glamorous and just talk their way through situations. That really, I looked for people who had static feet and fast tongues, and I was like, I can do that.
People who are capable of talking their way into $100,000.
Yes, I was like, that's an idol for me.
That's the kind of quality I'm aiming to obtain.
It's funny you mentioned like my first number, because I went on directly after Angelina Starchild, local legend and icon.
Yeah,
Star. And she went out there and did, it was a rare number for her. She did Gaga. But just...
Rococo.
But just brought the house down. And she was dancing and death dropping, and here's my old crickety welded together body. And I'm like, well, I can't do that, but I've got to find, so what can I do to get the crowd to do what they just did for Angelina? So I followed those other idols into shit talking on mics.
Oh yeah, people love that.
They do.
Drunk people love it when a drag queen is rude.
Yes, it is. If you're ever at one of my shows and I'm hosting, I love when someone either doesn't know who I am or gets the courage up enough to try to sass me.
Right.
In the early days, people tried to sass me a lot more, and now most people are pretty afraid. But I love when an audience is throwing like fun banter, and you can play with them, and everything's done with a wink and a tongue-in-cheek, not just like, some people can just be rude, and you're like, yeah, okay, there's nothing I can do with this. Let's just on with the show. But,
yeah, I agree. I like a fun little cute amount of heckling.
Yes, a playful heckle. I love when other drag queens are in the audience because they kind of know how to play. And,
absolutely.
Yeah. And drag queens are so good at sharing the spotlight too. So they're always like, they know when to bow and just be like, okay, this is your moment.
So today we're kind of talking about superheroes. This is not really a superhero movie in a lot of respects.
It failed as well.
It's really more of like a weird, not funny romantic comedy. But who would you say some of your favorite superheroes are?
I loved superheroes growing up because I loved to draw, and so I was always attracted to comic books that had the most brilliant art. So I loved Spider-Man. The Todd McFarlane era was really important for me. Aesthetically, Wolverine was always drawn so beautifully, and I loved his like tragicness of his story. And then Batman was a big one for me, especially anything by Miller was just like dark and tragic and real, and I liked that especially those three characters really had this kind of struggle that they were overcoming in these limitations that they weren't. I just couldn't stomach Superman.
Right.
I was just like, this guy's an asshole. I don't know if I can say that on this, but I just...
Nobody's getting paid here.
What a
I don't know if
dick.
you listened to episode 1. It's pretty much just Valerie Hunt and I thirsting over Alan Cummings' wang for an hour.
I enjoyed it. That was lovely.
So, if you were then in one of these comics, in one of these beautifully drawn, compellingly drawn comics, what would Karla Marx's power be?
Oh, what would my superpower be? Wow, that's a good... I think it would probably be, like, persuasion. I think it would be talking...
Connected to your love of talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it would be, like, talking my way into, like kind of Jedi mind trick, sort of.
Supernatural suggestion.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's me. That's me. And just be, like, convincing rich people to give up their money.
So, in a question which could be labeled as potentially shady.
Okay.
Out of the Calgary drag scene, which drag entertainer would be your sidekick and which drag entertainer would be your arch nemesis?
Wow, am I not answering that? I'm just not answering that. You're shady. You just like, let me just hand you this massive coil of rope.
Sure, but do you not hear the question and completely understand why I wanted to ask it?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Good try.
That's really all I
Good
needed.
try. I think villain might be you at the moment. For tonight, the villain is you.
Yeah, in my lair.
Sidekick is always Disco the dog.
Oh, a wonderful choice.
Thank you. Fluffy boy.
And a very safe choice.
Yes.
We are talking about Catwoman today, released in 2004, directed by Pitoff. I, of course, as always, want to know who's calling the shots here. So I've looked up these people.
Okay.
Pitoff, as I understand it, is a French gentleman who only had directed one feature film before this, which is a 2001 French film called Vidocq. It's about a man who solves supernatural murders involving lightning.
Okay.
So, sounds like a pretty good choice to handle the Catwoman movie.
Might have been over his head. Yeah.
But don't worry, he's supported by an incredible writing team with credentials which you'll understand why they were chosen, I think.
Lay it on me.
So, the film is written by John Rogers, who is the creator of the animated series Jackie Chan Adventures.
Oh. Oh, good.
And then also written by John Brancato and Michael Ferris, who were the writing team behind everyone's favorite Terminator movie, Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines.
Oh, the one that we just all pretended didn't happen. The
Absolutely.
one that made Genesis feel, okay, it's better.
The film stars Halle Berry, Benjamin Bratt, Sharon Stone, Francis Conroy, and Alex Borstein. A pretty fierce cast, honestly.
Yeah, and it was surprising how Sharon Stone was the worst of them.
You really think so?
I thought she was terrible.
You don't think it's Alex Borstein as her, like, horny friend who is only concerned with getting her laid despite being in the hospital?
That rang true. I was like, that woman has not been bedoinked in a long time, and she's just got one thing on her mind.
So, the movie was originally announced in 1993 after Batman Returns. So, originally, what was pitched and what was intended was a Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman film directed by Tim Burton. But then the movie kind of sat in... And by the way, Michelle Pfeiffer as Selena Kyle in Batman Returns. If you are a drag entertainer and you do not say that that performance in some way influenced you, you're lying.
I'm nodding.
yeah, like Michelle Pfeiffer, that movie is fierce.
Yeah, it really was. In a movie that attempted to make Danny DeVito a sex symbol.
And succeeded.
And arguably did. Yeah.
Brought back top hats for me in a big way.
Yeah. I don't know if that was the first top hat Danny DeVito, Tim Burton love triangle, but it's been tried and true ever since, for sure.
It's been what I've been thinking about since the movie came out.
Yeah. Where does he get those top hats? But no, that was, I think, a really breakthrough Catwoman because it modernized it for movie-going audiences, because up until that point, the 60s Batman was the last Catwoman you saw, where it was very 60s styled until Eartha Kitt voices her disagreement with the war of Vietnam at a luncheon that Lady Bird Johnson was hosting, and she like literally just gets up and she puts her hand up and she just gives this like rambling talk, and then suddenly it's just like, you know what? This Vietnam? No. Right to the president. The president was there. The first lady was there, and she just tells them to their face, like, this is an unjust war. And then they wrote her off the show immediately. Like, by the time she landed from DC to LA, Catwoman was over. She filmed her last episode, and the writers kind of touched on it in, like, a subtle way when, like, Catwoman's Gotta Go as the show.
What?
Yeah. That's why Catwoman was written off, Eartha Kitt was written off the show. And then she spent the
That
next...
is a fascinating old Hollywood fact. How do I not know about that?
I don't know. I'm teaching you in 1960s because it's politics, so I know that.
Right.
And so she spent the next 20 years touring Europe because she was in exile. She couldn't come back and work
That's fascinating.
in North America.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So for a lot of audiences, they went from 60s Catwoman...
Yeah.
to Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
And she had some really iconic graphic novels in like the 70s and 80s where they honestly did in some positive ways explore like sex work and classism, and Selena Kyle as a character is really cool as an anti-hero because she does the right things in the wrong ways for the right reasons, kind of. And she was voted like that character keeps getting voted like it's in the top 20 of all-time comic book heroes, and it's in the top 50 of all-time comic book villains. So it's kind of a pretty iconic character that people view it in these diametrically opposed ways. Yeah. And it was great that we got none of that in this film.
Yeah. The more you speak about it, the more an injustice this film becomes.
It's wild what they did with it. It's a real testament to this early 2000s moment where I wanted to call it arrogance of like, we can do whatever we want, but I think it's just, they're lost. Like, the world has come unhinged. It's early in the Iraq war. I wonder, like, there's this kind of sense of directionless in the film, and I wonder if that's, maybe I'm reading way too much into this, but it's like, you know,
this is my conspiracy theory podcast. How is the Iraq War connected to the release of the Catwoman movie as it exists?
Well, let me tell you. but you know what I mean? When you watch it, you're like... Yeah.
Well, and a part of this directionlessness is that it was a last-minute decision to make this movie. So I guess in 2004, Warner Brothers was attempting to make a Batman versus Superman movie. Okay. So we would have had that long before we got it in the messy, nonsensical way that we got it recently.
The Schneiderverse.
Yes. And in the most 2004... casting decisions ever, originally Batman was supposed to be played by Christian Bale.
Naturally.
In a pre-Nolanverse role. And Superman was to be played by the faculty and Pearl Harbor's Josh Hartnett.
No. No.
Did you just imagine him squinting his way through that movie? Like pooching his lips, being like, Batman.
You know, like Hollywood has this long-standing tradition of stomaching one squintable actor a generation. Yeah. Like Richard Gere was very that.
Yeah,
like, you're
sexy
just like,
guy who is like kind of blinded by the sun a little bit.
Could not tell you what the color of his eyes are. Don't know if he has any.
He doesn't. That's the gig of Hollywood.
Wow.
So the Catsuit was created by Academy Award winner Angus Strathall. Now, he had won an Academy Award for his work on the costumes in Moulin Rouge.
Oh, okay.
And they said that when they were designing the Catsuit, the quote is, "We wanted a very reality-based wardrobe to show the progression from demure, repressed patience to the sensual awakening of a sexy warrior goddess."
So low-rise pants were a must.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, as a breast haver, that top, let me tell you, if I'm about to do the acrobatics that digital CG Catwoman did, would not be in my top 5.
So you don't think it was very reality-based? Because that's what they were gunning for. This Academy Award-winning costumer.
I didn't... As weird as it sounds,
Keep in mind that we don't have Academy Awards for costuming.
Let me check. I don't currently. I'm in the nominations, but not this year.
Yeah, so what do we know? But go ahead, rip it apart.
It's... The pants are appalling.
Completely.
I don't hate the crisscross top thing from the front.
The leather belts.
The belts and the kind of...
That she's kind of wearing as a top.
Yeah, I was like... Parts of that looked cool to me, and then you just get above the neck, and you're like, is that sonar? It was like somebody only had a theoretical understanding of what a cat was and what a woman was. It really needs to be remade. I really think that a what's her name from the most recent growly Batman movies, the Christian Bale series. Anne Hathaway. Yeah, not her. She just came off as way too prissy. Like, Selena Kyle is supposed to be from the streets. She's supposed to be, surviving, scrapping. She's, the hero of the downtrodden. She's got a little bit of a Robin Hood vibe of robbing from the rich to protect those that she's close to. Yeah. And Anne Hathaway came off as just way too rich girl.
Yeah, I will say, out of the more famous interpretations of this character, not counting the original TV show or anything animated, I'm sorry, I am not qualified to be talking about this. But I would say that out of the 3 big budget movie versions we received, Michelle Pfeiffer, Anne Hathaway, and Halle Berry, although I think Halle Berry's is the worst interpretation of the character, as it is not an interpretation of that character at all. Yeah. It is certainly more memorable than Anne Hathaway's.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, for the character's rehabilitation in the public eye, Forgettable wasn't bad. To just hit this moment of, oh, okay, it's Catwoman. Yeah, she's back. I think coming from this, it was a healing moment. It's like with Star Wars Episode 7.
Right. They were we're really not going to do too much with this character because we understand what that might mean to us financially if we take too much of a risk.
Yeah, they were just like, we just want you to walk out of the experience and not hate Catwoman. And I think that they hit that with the Anne Hathaway Catwoman.
Unlike this one, which had a budget of $100 million and in a worldwide gross only earned back $82 million.
It's a bummer, dude.
Yeah, and not only was it a commercial failure, it was also a critical failure. The film currently holds a 9% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes and has a 3.4 out of 10 on IMDb.
Is that just like Halle Berry once in a while just cruising past going, I love this?
Yeah, 10.
10. Look at my abs.
But it is an award-winning film.
What?
Yes, so at the Razzie Awards.
Okay. Okay. You got me. I was like, the BAFTAs? Like, what guy? What low-rung...
Yeah, really art house French.
Yeah. The Junos were like, we love the score.
Yeah, Canadian enough. So with the Razzie Award, it received 7 nominations and 4 wins. It won for Worst Picture, Worst Actress for Halle Berry, Worst Director for Pitoff, and Worst Screenplay. And then at the Stinkers Bad Movie Awards...
Oh, God, no. This is piling on.
It had 7 nominations and 5 wins. Now, it did not win for Worst Screenplay, but it did win Worst Supporting Actress for Sharon Stone and the least special effects. So the movie itself begins with a montage of images of Catwomen through the ages, with the first of many incredibly horny songs.
You are absolutely correct that the soundtrack is here to fuck.
Yeah, it's just women being like, oh, ooh, break the law.
It was 2004. Lyrics were out. Moaning was in.
Except for Break the Law, which makes so many appearances.
Does it?
Yeah.
Wow. I was mostly paying attention, I guess.
So the opening credits of this film suggest to us that this movie is literally just kind of trying to be Buffy, in that into every generation a Catwoman is born.
Yeah, there was almost, and I don't know if you felt this, but I felt like they kind of tried to weave a bit of like an African vibe into the intro.
Yeah, well, because in the film, the magic of being a Catwoman comes from the Egyptian goddess Bastet.
Right, as we all know.
Yeah, no, it's a movie heavy with problems.
Yeah, it was wild that like they were like, this is where your magic powers come from. That you're not like a cat burglar Catwoman, like you are a Catwoman.
Yeah, you are literally a cat.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Because it all started on the day that she died, as Halle Berry opens the film with, face down in water, dead.
We love a first 30-second narrator that never reappears. I love when movies use this because they have no idea how to like set the scene. So they're just like, we'll have the main character narrate and talk to you, break the fourth wall for the first 30 seconds only, and then you're off to the races. Thanks for that, Pitoff. You son of a bitch.
And Halle takes this opportunity in this really ham-fisted narration, which never reappears, to tell us that she is Patience Phillips, ugly, clumsy loser, who works as an ad designer for Hedare Beauty, working on their Bioline skin cream campaign.
Yeah, spoiler, the plot for this story is actually just a Better Business Bureau complaint. It's literally like, this skin cream gives me a rash. And it's like, that's what we want to do our female empowerment movie about. Skin cream. Skin
cream. It makes you ugly.
Yeah. Like aging. And like, there was like a moment to make like a powerful statement about inner beauty and aging and like women in Hollywood and all this stuff, and they just said no.
Aging is literally the reason for the villain existing in this.
It is actually the villain's origin story, is that she got old.
Yeah, is that she's older and she's being replaced. The villain is played by Sharon Stone, who is the wife of George Hedare, owner of Hedare Beauty. And she was also their primary model for most of their products. Yes. But now it's time for her to move on. They are replacing her with a much younger model. And by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but there is only one photo of this younger model that
Yeah.
exists. Okay, so Hallie plays Patience Phillips, who's working, as I said, on the Violin campaign. Gets called into her boss's, George Hidare's office, and she's fucked up the campaign. She uses the wrong kind of red.
It's too red.
It's too red. He didn't want... Why would he would never ask for a red that red.
Yeah, he knows what he said.
But Sharon Stone, who fucking hates her husband, is like, George! And like holding a cocktail glass with just like scotch in it, like a contemporary Betty Davis, is just like, George, give her another shot. She's good. You know it. And then he shrinks immediately and is like, absolutely. But you have to get it to me tomorrow at midnight.
Yeah, and like, it's midnight and deliver it to the creepy CG factory.
Why the fuck did she have to deliver her art campaign to the lab?
Well, there it is. We just found the first plot hole.
Why did the fucking artwork need to go to the lab where they make the cream at midnight?
On Cat Island.
She was already at work. She was working on it at work. And then she was like, oh my god, I have to take this from Hidare headquarters where all of the artists work. So you think she would hand it in to someone over her.
And his office was
He
there
literally
too.
criticized her for the first artwork in that building. So clearly they had access to it in that building and didn't need it at the beauty lab at midnight. Like she was gonna give it to a scientist.
I honestly did not see this plot hole when I watched it. I was just like, because like I was already in this world of complete disbelief where I'm just like, wow, none of this makes sense. Give it to me, Peachoff. And now when you've exposed that, I'm just like, what? Wild.
Okay, but we are getting I guess I love this movie because I just keep skipping ahead on myself.
It's a thrill ride.
It's more fun to talk about than it is to watch.
That is true.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you're gonna write a list of positives, it's fierce to talk about later. Anyway, so later that night, Patience Phillips is in bed.
Yeah.
She's been chastised by her boss, so she's very stressed, she's very tired, but next door, there's like a nu metal party going on, and they are blaring their nu metal as loudly as possible. And Patience very timidly opens the window, and she says, excuse me, please keep it down a little bit, I'm trying to sleep, I've had a very stressful day. And this kind of really hot guy with really long hair, he's sort
You
of like,
would.
yeah.
You would. I knew it. I was just like, yo, god damn you.
He looks at her and he's like, we're not going to turn it down. And she just accepts that. But she sees a cat, and the cat's like, meow.
Oh, no, that's her, like, mystic cat. She gets, like, the pet cat that's, like, totally a house cat, but it's also, like, a cat god that's like, hey, you're a god.
Yeah, it's an
now,
Egyptian
too.
Mao.
Yeah, very rare cat.
Named Midnight.
Midnight.
And so then the next morning, Patience Phillips is painting. And I don't know if you clocked this, but she is wearing the same outfit that she was wearing the day before.
It was her pre-transformer smock.
She just changed right back into that costume.
One size fits
so
all.
that she could do her morning before work painting session.
Gotta get up, gotta paint.
And she looks over her shoulder, and there's that cat on the windowsill.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a good 40 seconds of this movie that is just the cat looking at her and going, wow, wow, wow. It's really obnoxious.
Yeah, there's... it's almost liberating to see a film created that has no sense of urgency whatsoever.
I'm happy that 3 people wrote it.
Yeah. Yeah, and at
money
no
well
point,
spent.
They were just like, each of them had their own, like, little pet project, quirky scenes. They were like, this has got to be in there. And so the first half an hour is just quirky scenes with no hint of a plot developing.
And so Patience then realizes that the cat is no longer there, but she hears a meow from outside of the window, and she looks outside the window to now see that the cat has climbed much higher to a very unsafe part of the building.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she climbs out of the building.
Naturally.
And crawls over to it, being like, Kitty, I'm risking my life for you.
Yeah.
And she stands on an outside air conditioner, which is where the love interest of the movie then comes into the film, played by Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah, backup boyfriend. When you're like, we spent too much money on other things and we can't afford like an A-list boyfriend, you get yourself Benjamin Bratt.
And he plays police officer Tom Lone. And he, in the cutest meet cute ever recorded on cinema, thinks she's about to kill herself.
It's a surprisingly common dating story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woman about to kill herself goes on Tinder, finds Benjamin Bratt.
Is that what I've been doing wrong?
I guess so.
I live in a basement, so I don't know how I'm ever going to meet anybody.
Hey!
There are no windows for me to be like, I'll do it. And so Tom Lone thinks that she's about to jump, and she's like, no, there's a cat. But of course the cat has fucked off because cats are assholes.
Yes.
So he's like, sure, it's a very cute cat. And then the air conditioner starts to fall out from underneath her, so she quickly shouts out her room number, and he goes up and catches her right before she falls. And then he sees the cat, and he's like, oh, there really was a cat. Patience, even though she's very enamored by this cop who has just saved her life, realizes she is late. And so she drops her wallet, and we then rush back to Hedare, where we then meet Patience's two work friends. One of them is Sally, played by Alex Borstein. Her male coworker is a gay coworker with probably about 3 lines in the whole film.
3 lines and some panting.
Yeah, so her coworkers are both super horny, and they are making every face because Tom Lone has brought Patience's wallet to her work to reintroduce himself to her. And he says that he is very embarrassed that he thought that she was going to jump off that building. So to make up for how embarrassed he is about that, he asks her out on a date, which I would like to remind everyone, defund the police.
Yeah, he consistently finds ways to just, like, new colorful ways to be a cab. It's really impressive.
Okay, so then she's working on the artwork, and it's late at night, and
So late.
it's almost midnight, and she, for some reason, has to get that art across town to the Hedare Beauty Labs. And when she gets there, we discover that Bioline, this new face cream that is coming out, causes you to be ugly if you stop using it.
Yeah, you like break out in like really bad rashes and like you have like crazy scaly skin and everything, and it was like to me it felt like if they had just made this movie about like lip balm, I would have bought it because I believe, and this is true, I really do believe this, that lip balm is a conspiracy. That people who like heavily use lip balm, they're like, I always need more lip balm, is because it like makes your lips feel really great, but then secretly the chemicals dry your lips out, so you use more lip balm.
And as someone who uses lip balm,
Thank you.
Conspiracy confirmed.
We fucking did it. Shut this podcast down. We done. We did it. We solved crime.
We've toppled the lip smackers empire. I can feel that. For sure.
Yeah. We're coming for you, lip chap.
And Patience Phillips, because she's in this completely dark laboratory where this very secret, very sensitive meeting is happening, she overhears this plot and then backs into some glass beakers and breaks them, which alerts the people having this top secret meeting to her presence.
Yeah, they really go ham-fisted on trying to like denote that like this person is not graceful. They are not.
Yeah, she stumbles constantly.
Stumbling, she walks into people, she has no like feline grace.
Yeah.
Pre what's about to happen to her.
Yeah, them chasing her through this wild
sci-fi tubes.
Factory. Yeah. Sci-fi tubes.
Everywhere. They really only had like the most rudimentary idea of science. They're like tubes.
Tubes, chrome. Yeah.
And then her escape plan is to just jump into a giant piece of machinery. Which, like, she didn't know what it does. She doesn't know where it goes. It's not like it's labeled, like, vent tube to outside. It's just, like, a giant metal chamber. And she's like, this is the place for me.
I have to go.
Gotta go.
Yeah, and,
well, maybe that's her early Catwoman. Like, if it fits, I'd sit.
Yeah, it's what drew Midnight to her.
Yeah.
That cat instinct.
Yeah.
You could smell it on her. He was like, "Wah."
Anyways, she's in the tube.
She's in the tube and they shut the door and they flush her out the tube and she goes into the ocean.
Yeah, a wall of really bad CG water. It looks kind of like a wall of dippity-doo.
But it's really nothing. It's really nothing compared to the monstrosities which follow when she washes up on Pussy Island.
It's full of pussy, chock
she is
full.
Dragged to the center of this, I guess, garbage dump island.
It's a swamp. Like it's gross, and she's filthy.
Yeah.
Like when whatever magic powers brings her back to life was like, yeah, but you're gonna be gross.
All of these CGI cats then crowd around dead Patience Phillips, and Midnight, the Egyptian Mao, in all of his CGI glory, walks onto Halle Berry's chest and burps in her mouth.
It's like mouth farting.
There was green smoke.
Yeah, there was green CGI smoke, and she's like, it's fumigating. Like it's like
we have been taught through the cartoons that we grew up with that green smoke is like a bad smelling fart gas.
100%.
So it's, this fucking CGI cat just stands on her chest and burps in her mouth and bada bing bada boom, you're Catwoman.
Where did this cat come from? Like, how did the cat get its powers?
The Jellicle Ball.
Oh boy.
This cat burp makes her a literal Catwoman.
Yeah, there's magic.
Yes, because in the next scene, she wakes up and proceeds to behave like a literal cat.
But very heavy on the bewildered cat.
Yeah, she can walk on very narrow surfaces.
Yes.
She, later on, of course, eats fish with an addiction. Yeah. She hisses at dogs. She reacts positively to catnip. She is a literal cat woman, which I think is my favorite of the most baffling, terrible decisions they could have made.
Yeah, like they weren't comfortable with Catwoman being like kind of like Batman, that just is like a person who's very skilled.
Yeah.
They're like, we need superpowers. She has to be magic.
It did leave me with a lot of questions, which thankfully Midnight shows up and he has the address of his owner, Ophelia Powers.
I'm Opheliaing my powers.
And her powers are that she wrote a book about women who are cats and was denied tenure.
Tenure worked. Yeah, the tenure committee for whatever, Metropolis U that she was working at did its job. It actually weeded out the chaff.
They were like, I'm sorry, we really don't need this. And so then she's at work and she is being yelled at by her boss, George Dare, in front of the entire company because she did not drop off the artwork properly. She, in fact, got murdered, but he doesn't know that. And he then fires her. But I guess then Sally just takes the rest of the day off because she helps patients clear out her desk and move her boxes of stuff out of the office.
Yeah, and then her never really diagnosed medical problems pop up, and she just passes right out.
She passes out. She passes out as Halle Berry sees a very important necklace in a jewelry store window.
Yeah, she's like, ooh, I like this.
So then we're brought to the hospital, and despite the fact that Sally has just passed out, she really, really wants Halle Berry to get together with Officer Tom Lone, who she has fucked things up with because while she was busy getting murdered, she did not go for coffee. Yeah. With Tom Lone.
Best friend is out of her coma and horny, and she's like,
being like, what about you? I have a hot doctor, but what about you?
I love that they wrote in this completely unnecessary, nonsensical patient nabs hot doctor periodically runs the nursing station in a patient gown. She's just on the phone. The nurses are like, hey, what's up? And she's just like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, fully a comedy character who is involved in the plot. Really not at all.
Yeah, they wanted to find a happy medium between Melissa McCarthy and Rosie O'Donnell. And,
yes.
And they were just like, we're going to just slide in right here.
Just like Halle Berry slides into a classroom where Officer Tom Lone is giving a like, don't be criminals speech to a group of children.
Yeah, who are at the end of the day just like, yay, cops. And I was like,
let me see your gun.
Yeah.
And he's like, haha, no.
Never explained how she finds him at a school.
Yeah.
Like, much more plausible, she goes to, like, the police station and he's there.
Yeah.
Instead,
but if he was at the police station, we couldn't have this incredible basketball scene which follows.
The horniest basketball scene since Space Jam.
These two characters grind their body parts up against each other. And it's so over the top in the way that it is edited. And if you took away all of the editing, that scene was literally two characters standing in one spot, just dribbling the ball.
Yeah.
They weren't doing anything.
They did grind on each other a lot. And the grade 7 kids loved it.
Yeah, Halle Berry was bouncing her ass while she was dribbling the ball, and Benjamin Bratt was like, ho, 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 ho. And all of the kids were like, woo!
And there is, like, a straight-up ass cam shot where,
there
like,
is.
They just show Halle Berry's butt just, like, basketball twerking. It's a lot. And then they culminate with, like, a dunk, slam, tackle. And
because cats are good at basketball.
Naturally gifted.
So then, later that night, Patience Phillips is trying to get some sleep. But once again, the new metal concert next door is, like, way too loud. And she
What's the zoning like in this building?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody would be complaining about this. I feel like this is not a grievance that would be just shared by just Patience Phillips. So she asks politely once again if they will just turn down the music. And he's like, sorry, babe, we're not having a slumber party. But for you, I'd make an exception. And I was like, swoon. And then she says, let me try the remix. And she kicks his door down.
Yeah.
And she jumps on his chest and is like, keep it down. And that makes her so horny for crime that she then goes back home, puts on an entirely leather outfit, steals a motorcycle, and then goes to a jewelry store.
And it's weird because she goes to the jewelry store and stops
in
a heist that's already happening.
Robbery, in progress.
Like, she's not like, well, I'm gonna go steal shit. She is. But there's already some dudes mid-stealing the shit that she wanted to steal. So that can't happen.
That's this movie's interpretation of that gray area.
Oh.
For the Catwoman character. Is she a villain? Is she a hero? She steals, but she also stops the crime. So she does steal a bunch of jewelry after she stops these criminals. But then she feels bad about it in the morning and puts everything except for this necklace, which has these kind of cat claw-like jewels on it. She keeps that, but she returns everything else in a little baggie that says "Zoe" alongside some cupcakes.
And the necklace, we find out, is Egyptian.
Yes. And
you're like, oh, cool. And then we never see it again.
It becomes her claws.
Are you kidding me? I missed that. All right.
Yeah, she puts it on her glove. That's like, so she is literally just cutting people with a necklace the whole movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if that sounds stupid, it's because it is.
I don't have time for this shit.
So Halle Berry Googles cat.women and cats through history. And so Halle Berry discovers enough through her Google search that she then goes back to Ophelia Powers. Ophelia informs her that she is a Catwoman. And then she pushes her off of a balcony. And Halle Berry lands on her feet.
Yeah, and she's like, see, you're a fucking cat.
Because after talking with Ophelia Powers, Patience Phillips decides someone has murdered me. I'm going to figure out who that is. And we cut to our first look at the Catwoman costume in this film as it exists, with the torn leather pants and the weird stiff mask and the bra with the 2 leather belts over top of it.
Yes.
How do you feel about the Catwoman suit? Is it a toot or a boot?
Ultimately for me, it is a narrow boot.
Okay.
Because of the trouser over leotard pant. Like if it was tighter ankles, I think it would have given her a better shape. And then the low rise pant. As a taller gal, let me tell you, do I ever fucking hate me some low rise pants.
It's something that I would give a queen $5 for if she walked on stage wearing it.
Let me tell you, that is a high bar, actually. We watch Drag Race beside each other all the time, and I would tip $5 from Lilith Fair. That's a high bar.
Because I'm poor.
Yes.
But wear it at a club, she does. She honestly kind of lucks out finding one of the guys who shoots her at a club because she has amnesia at this point. She doesn't really remember what happened, so she kind of just stumbles across one of the guys who shot her and has a flashback to remembering him as one of the guys.
Totally.
And she follows him into this nightclub where we get really just the male gaze for about 2 minutes.
100%.
As Halle Berry struts around this club, like hitting poses and whipping things. And
yeah, it's very
modeling.
Matrix. It's very Matrix inspired.
Right.
The like... Petoff was like, get me the knockoff Chemical Brothers remix of what a nightclub might have been.
Iconic, though. She does go to the bar, and she does order a White Russian. Hold the ice, hold the vodka, hold the Kahlua. Cream, straight up. Iconic levels of stupid. That she goes to a bar and orders a glass of warm nightclub cream.
That is like, if you've drank a glass of warm nightclub cream, you don't need to get...
Where from? The bar or the bathroom?
That's a good point. I'm going to say if you
For
from
the
the
gays
bar...
listening, sorry, Mom.
If you've got it from the bar, if you've got a glass of warm nightclub cream from the bar... You don't need to get a vaccine. You're good. Kidding. Get vaccinated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When will it be my turn? So that brings us to another nonsensical fight scene. She fights this guy who shot her. She finds out that Bioline causes all of these things again.
Yeah,
She relearns the plot.
We've known they check in on the plot, and it's the same plot. It's like this stuff gives you a rash. And there's no mystery. There's no clues. There's no progression of like, well, what did this guy do? Or why did this guy get murdered? It's just straight up, this stuff will give you a rash. And everyone knows it. And there's no mystery. It's just...
it is the worst kept secret.
Yeah.
In not Gotham. Catwoman then goes to the Hedare Beauty Labs where she finds that the empathetic scientist who was against Bioline because it gives you a rash has been murdered.
Sure was.
And she is stumbled upon by a security guard who of course thinks that she has murdered this scientist, and she is framed for murder. And she takes what she learns and she visits her friend Sally, who's still in the hospital. Yeah, and this is where we get the one insight into what may have caused the passing out. And Halle she's
Berry's
using
like
a tester of Bioline.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give another unfashioned moment mention to the outfit that Halle Berry is wearing in this scene as well. But Halle Berry loves it because she wears it on her date to the carnival with Tom Lone.
Which is in clearly the same set as the earlier...
Basketball. So, yeah, they demolished that inner city school and put up a fair.
Yeah, it does. It did serve to advance the plot, though, because there's the Ferris wheel accident, of course.
The funniest scene in the movie.
It's amazing.
Is the Ferris wheel. So they're riding this Ferris wheel, having a cute little chit-chat, because they like each other. And then the Ferris wheel starts to malfunction.
Yeah.
And it starts to, really rattle, Final Destination style. And then this little child is just... the worst actor in the film is just like, Mommy! Mommy! Mommy!
And really captured the essence.
Of the delivery? Yes,
yeah.
Thank you. And Halle Berry jumps out of her car on the Ferris wheel, and I guess Catwoman's her way down, because we just get it from a first person.
Yeah, it's point of view, because they're like, we're not going to waste CG on this.
And she saves the little boy.
Unfortunately, yeah.
She does,
yeah.
And
that kid's a piece of shit.
He cuts to her fucking being like, you're a brave little guy. And he's like, thank you.
Yeah. Actually, he screamed and flailed and broke a valuable piece of equipment.
Yeah,
and is not going to pay.
He cried for his mommy. He's not brave.
That is not brave at all. If he, like, flipped off his mom and was like,
Yeah,
I
he was
never
like-
loved you.
He's like, I got this.
Yeah. He's like, hey.
I hate you, Mom.
Yeah.
You were the one who put me on this fucking Ferris wheel.
By himself, too. Like, he's...
Yeah, everyone else is partnered up except for this little kid.
Well, maybe he smells bad, you know? You gotta look at all the cards. He probably reeked.
Yeah, they probably have something for him at Hedera Beauty that could fix that for him. They have to.
Put some rash cream on him.
Yeah, get some Biolene on him.
It could really do wonders.
Then he wouldn't have been hurt if he fell out of the Ferris wheel.
That's true.
Because his skin would have been like living marble. Catwoman later that night, she breaks into the Hedera mansion.
Like third time.
Where
She's back.
But she gets clubbed in the face with a golf club by Sharon Stone, Marbleface.
Yeah.
Who is just going to be called Marbleface because I cannot remember her character's name.
Marbleface works.
Yeah, she is like she's like the second most important character in the movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know what her name is.
Marbleface.
Marbleface, yeah. And she confronts Marbleface about Biolene, and Sharon Stone plays it off like, well, I don't know. You'll have to talk to my husband. He's an asshole. Here's where he is.
Yeah.
And that sends her to Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah, well, she frames her. Like, so Catwoman goes to the office, and what, we thought was the big bad guy because he's French, he's murdered and slashed up to look like Catwoman did it. And then this is why I think Sharon Stone really sucked in this movie, was this scene. And she's like, oh no, my husband. And then she's like she does like the sniveling kid thing where she like looks at mom and she's like, oh no. And then like shoots daggers like at the other kid. There's like this really comical scene where Sharon Stone's like sets her like henchman on Catwoman who has to like then flee.
Do you want to know what a piece of shit repetitive ass movie this is?
Yeah.
Is that you jumped so far ahead in the plot.
Did I?
Yeah!
Oh man. I did? Oh. There's like 7 break-in scenes to the same building.
And you know what? We are not going to go back and talk about in depth all the things that you skipped.
Because
they're the same scene.
There's no mystery.
I had seen this movie before, and when she broke into the Hedera mansion the first time, I genuinely thought the scene that you're talking about where Sharon Stone frames her for the murder of her husband, I genuinely thought that was the scene we were about to get.
Yeah, it's not.
Because it felt like it, and it would have made the same amount of sense in the plot.
I really understand.
So we're not going to go back and talk about all those things, but I am going to give you a mind-blowing list of all of the things that you missed in that skit.
Oh my god. What did I miss? Okay,
so Tom Lone takes Patience Phillips out for sushi.
Oh yeah, there was more fish.
Yeah, where they flirt. Well, actually before that even, going before that, they go to Cirque du Soleil.
Oh yeah, and she runs around,
and she like threatens Hedera, and then Tom Lone shows up, and they have the fight above the stage, and she gets away, but she kisses him, then they go for sushi.
That's the second fight grind scene.
Yeah, where they like flirt, and she's like, "Ooh, I'm a bad girl," and he's like, "I'm taken." They go for sushi.
Doesn't he?
They go.
He boinks her then.
Yes, they go out They're walking home. It starts to rain. They start to kiss. It leads to sex. The next morning, before she wakes up, he finds one of the claws from her nail. He then takes the cup with her lipstick on it and brings it back to the lab where they confirm that the lipstick on the glass is the same as the lipstick from his cheek when she kissed him as Catwoman. It's like a 99.9% match. Then Sharon calls, after all of that, then Sharon Stone calls Halle Berry and is like, come back to the house, and she's murdered her husband.
Wow. Memory loss from traumatic experiences is obviously real.
Because there was no point.
No. None of those things were necessary.
Like we could have at an earlier time gotten, like they could have had sex after the carnival scene. Yeah. Like the adrenaline of the Ferris wheel could have been that, and then she goes to Hedera Mansion and the guy is dead. So she escapes the initial framing, which she then comes home and because Officer Tom Lone has made this match with the lipstick, he knows that she's Catwoman and he arrests her and she goes willingly.
Yeah, she goes to jail.
She does. And in jail, midnight, the Egyptian Mao squeezes through the bars of her window and then bestows upon her the power of squishy bones.
Yeah.
Because she then slides similarly through the bars of her cell. So she's in prison, but she gets out right away. So because if you had forgotten, the main plot of this movie is the launch of this Bioline skin cream.
We're back.
So Catwoman crashes the pre-launch party of Bioline, the skin cream. Oh my god. If you can hear the dog cleaning himself, it's fine. The dog is very jealous that we've been talking about cats for so long.
Yeah, he's like, I'm right here.
So Tom Lone shows up and he's decided to believe Patience Phillips that she's innocent in the two framings. It is also quite funny that there are two framings.
Yeah.
She gets framed for the scientist, but because nobody really cared about that character,
no,
we just move on.
Yeah.
So then she's framed for two murders, and the first one doesn't matter. So Tom Lone decides to believe Patience Phillips, and he tricks Sharon Stone into a confession really easily. When he admits this to her immediately, she's like, I'm gonna kill you now. Catwoman saves Tom Lone from being shot, which brings us to the ultimate showdown between Catwoman and her arch nemesis Marbleface.
Yeah.
Because Catwoman is wailing on Sharon Stone, and she's just kind of like taking all these hits, and Sharon Stone says, Bioline, stop using it and your face crumbles, but keep using it, skin like human marble, and I can't feel a thing.
It was worrying to me that Karen Stone decided to use the adjective human to describe the marble. Whereas, like, what if it's just marble? Like, why is it human marble? Like, what experiences in her life is like, oh, that's the human marble?
Well, she is a part of the 1%.
That's true. And I wonder how many, like...
So to her, that's a thing, and it's horrible.
Yeah. I wonder how many people she's slathered this on.
Sharon Stone starts to overtake Catwoman. She almost gets her out of an open window, plummeting like hundreds and hundreds of stories. But for literally no reason, Catwoman just gets a second wind and beats the shit out of Sharon Stone and scratches her face a bunch of times.
Yep.
And eventually Sharon Stone is dangling out of this window. And Catwoman further exploring that dichotomy between good and evil, as we understand is so important to this character. Catwoman reaches out and says, take my hand, I'll save you, because, you know, she's not a killer.
Yeah.
But Sharon Stone gets a look at her newly scratched up face in a piece of glass, decides, I'm really ugly, and just throws herself from the building.
She's ultimately vain. And it's a very rare type of fall.
In that it is fully a stunt dummy just spiraling.
Yeah, you don't see the like woo she's going ass over teacup multiple times before she levels out. It's like a tumble.
It's just like a weirdly weighted dummy that they threw there, and like there is no attempt to make it not look like a dummy until it's like at the end,
which is wild because like everything must be CG'd, and then like I don't know what happened on that moment, but you're laughing.
Yeah, it's really wild.
Yeah. Like, even Hans Gruber had, like, grace in as he fell off Nakatomi Tower, and he was just like, ooh.
Oh, I wonder if this was a direct homage.
Oh, you think so? They were like...
Very possibly.
This is going to be the Christmas movie that everyone wants to see.
So Catwoman does it.
She wins.
She, I guess by killing the CEO of the company... prevents the launch. I guess the company just is like, I guess we just won't ship this out of respect.
There is no.
Oh no,
expose.
they don't.
Like
they don't expose the company.
No, they don't.
I was gonna say because it got exposed, but no, that actually didn't happen.
They don't expose the company. The data of like all the horrible rashes that they're causing never gets released.
Catwoman saves no one. She literally just kills her bosses because they yelled at her one time.
Yeah.
That's really all she cared about.
Well, it's wild, too, is that she kills Sharon Stone, who stopped the yelling. Like, Sharon Stone actually stopped...
She believed in her talent.
Yeah. She's like, she's good and talented. It's like, well, that bitch has gotta go.
She's gotta go, too.
She's gotta go.
How dare this woman own a company? Really, the only resolution we get is that Sally dates her doctor.
I was really pulling for them.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Ophelia Power gets sent some of Patience Phillips' art, I guess.
Yep. She gets a painting.
Which is great, because she's a huge fan of Catwoman, so to have some original art by a Catwoman probably thrilled her.
Yeah.
And she breaks up with Tom Lone.
Yeah. Which was an interesting move. She sends him a note.
She's literally not in prison only because of Tom Lone.
100%. Well, and the bendy cat thing.
Yeah, and her own abilities. You're right.
Yeah. But she does it through a note, which I was like, that's...
Yeah, literally breaks up with him through a letter.
I don't know if that's classy or a dick move. I don't know.
Well, it's how cats break up with each other.
Is it?
Yeah.
Penmanship.
They write each other letters.
So if you ever see a note around your house with a paw print on it, that cat's having a really tough day.
A really bad day.
He's having a really tough time.
And that brings us to the end of Catwoman.
Thank God. Oh my, why did you do this to me? I mean, I had a lovely time, but also I had a terrible time.
Yeah, I am that rare balance of really great friend and also just worst person, you know.
Not no word of a lie. You love her, you hate her, Lilith Fair.
Carla, thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Where can people find you online?
At Karla.Marx1917 on Instagram. Same handle on the Twitter. And you can always follow Cabaret Calgary on Instagram for all those good things.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for listening to episode 2 of CAMP-O-RAMA, the least popular series on my channel.
Only going down from here.
It's the easiest one to make, so I'm going to keep doing it. If you're listening to this on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at 50%fruit. That is, of course, the word percent. And as always, don't add me on Facebook. Bye.
Don't let the ghosts and the ghouls disturb you.